Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys watching today's video. And guys, today we're going to be talking about giant crankbaits. When a really big crankbait works, there's several different situations I like to use them in, and I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on a little bit about the mood and the personality of the fish and the bass when they want a large crankbait. So we're going to get into that. And sorry, I look all grubbed out, man. I've been weed eating and mowing this afternoon. It's so dang dry here in Missouri. I'm like covered with dust, but I don't have any other time to do the video, so I'm just a little grubbed out right now in the video. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about the big giant crankbaits here. Now, crankbaits come in a wide variety of sizes. You got, you know, what I would consider like the smaller crankbaits, like this. This is like a Bandit 200. This is sort of considered a small crankbait. And this one above it is the Megabass 4.0. So you can see the significant difference in size there. Now, the thing about crankbait fishing, and really any lure category in general in terms of size, the times that a big crankbait works good, or a big lure in general, has a lot to do with a lot of different factors that are in play here. It has to do with the time of year, it has to do with the water temperatures, has to do with the overall size of fish that you're fishing for in the lake. And all those combinations together at times can make a really big crankbait an effective lure to catch them with. So what I want to do today is I want to try to give you guys a specific set of conditions to try these in the next time you come upon those conditions. And it can definitely add up to some of the biggest fish you've ever caught in your life with it. So first of all, before you throw a big crankbait like this is like almost a 6-inch long crankbait. Before you throw a big bait like this, you got to make sure that there's enough quality fish in the body of water that you're fishing to give yourself a chance to catch it. So say if you guys are fishing like up on the Ohio River where there's a lot of small fish and there's not very many big ones, or maybe some lakes in Kansas or something like that, or maybe lakes up in the Northeast, probably these aren't going to be that great. But if you fish bodies of water that have a decent population of like 4-pound bass in it, and these would be a lot of lakes like some of your major impoundments in the middle part of the country, obviously down south, Texas, California, Florida, places that are known to have a little bit bigger bass, this is the first thing you need to take in consideration. Make sure that your lake has enough quality fish in it. And when I'm talking about quality fish, I'm talking about those 3 to 4 pound and bigger fish in it to make this pretty good. The next thing you have to consider is the bass have to be extremely aggressive in order to go for this. Because if you look like this, the difference between these two crankbaits, this is like a little bite-sized snack to the fish. So it doesn't take a big commitment for them to come up and snap this thing. But when they go for something like this, even a 4-pound bass, this is a big bait. So they've got to be committed to eating something, and they got to be hungry and aggressive enough to do it. So the conditions that are going to allow this to happen, number one, is you've got to have some type of a steady or a falling barometric pressure. Now this usually happens when you have stable weather patterns, or say a cold front is on its way in. Best scenario for that, guys, is if you can watch the weather and you see a cold front approaching your area, like a day or so before the cold front. Usually you got some clouds moving in, you got some pretty strong south winds, you got a little bit higher humidity, you got the barometric pressure maybe steady or starting to fall. These are key conditions for getting the fish aggressive, especially that wind and the overcast. So that's number one, guys. Make sure you got that set of conditions. It's going to give you a better overall chance to catch them. The next thing you have to do is you have to have the right water visibility in the lake you're fishing. In order to capitalize on those water clarity, on those conditions, the weather conditions I'm talking about, you really need to have the water visibility and the water temperature in a certain zone. And that water visibility needs to be 2 to 4 feet. At the very minimum 2 feet, maybe at the very maximum 4 or 5 feet. In that zone, 2 to 5 feet. And a lot of lakes across the country have that type of clarity in it. So that's the best one there. And the next thing is you have to have the right water temperature. And the right water temperatures for a big crankbait like this are when the water is sort of like anywhere between the mid-50s to really no more than like 70 degrees. Therefore, that puts the temperature and the time of year, normally in the springtime of the year, the pre-spawn, maybe during the spawn, a little bit after, and then sometime in the fall time of the year, like, you know, October, November, early December. Those are the best times to fish a big crankbait, guys. The The pre-spawn is a really good time to catch it when the water temperature is around 55, 60, especially if you have a lake that has a lot of grass in it. All you guys out there that have grass lakes like TVA, Texas, some northern places, Florida, these giant crankbaits like this Megabass Big M 4.0 is a great lure to fish in the pre-spawn over some of those submergent grass beds. A really good place to fish it. And also in the late spring, like when the fish come off the beds and they move out to the deeper drop-offs and the ledges, this is another good time. Like you guys that fish like all the TVA lakes that have ledges on it, this is a really good bait to fish right after the fish spawn and move out to those ledges. And then in the fall time of the year, like we're in right now, one of the things I like to do with it is I get out there on those really nasty days, like the days it's raining and windy, and I just get out there and I start fishing, excuse me, channel banks and points with it, places where I think fish are going to move up and take advantage of the nasty weather and the low light, and just cover water like that with it. So anyway, guys, give them a try. There's a pretty small window. You're not going to get a lot of bites on these things. I mean, I think the most bites I've ever got on one of these in a day has been like 5 or 6. But I have heard of guys fishing specifically like down in Texas over grass that have had 20 and 30 fish days on them. But just my 2 cents, guys. It's just a situational thing. That's another thing you're going to find out about bass fishing is everything is situational. And the more information that you can assimilate as far as when certain things work under certain conditions, that's when your odds of being successful on a consistent level go way up. So hope it helps, guys. We'll talk to you later.